Hi, this is Tom Hoskins for Mining Journal. I'm here with Luquman Shaheen, who's president and CEO of Panoro Minerals, which is a Toronto-listed copper explorer developing the Cotabambas project in southern Peru. Hi, Luquman, how's it going?
Hi, Tom. I'm doing very well, thank you.
Good stuff. So for our viewers who aren't familiar with your company, maybe you could start by telling us what makes Cotabambas such a compelling project in your view.
Sure. The Cotabambas project we've been working on for the better part of a decade now. So the exploration success at the project has been significant. We've grown the project from zero to over 700 million tons. And we have an exploration program going on right now that is identifying a potential larger resource and increasing the component of the high grade portion of the resource. So its size is compelling. The economics around the project are compelling because of this high grade zone, which is present also at or near surface. And the metallurgy is straightforward. So the project will produce in large quantity a high grade, high value, and clean copper concentrate into a market that is will be growing in deficit for the supply of such concentrate. So the size and the quality of the resource is what makes the project stand out.
So bringing it to the present day, what are some of the things you've achieved recently on the project? And building on that, what are some of your key milestones for 2023?
Well, the majority of our work to date at the Cotabambas project has been focused on identifying the potential scale of the resource. And more recently now, we have commenced with a drilling program to support a pre-feasibility study. So that will be an important new milestone for the project to complete a pre-feasibility study by early next year. We commenced a approximately 17,000 meter drill hole program last year, which is about 10,000 meters complete. So that drill program is focused on infill to upgrade the resource from mostly inferred currently to an all indicated resource, and at the same time targeting a better definition of the high grade component of the resource. So that's the current direction of the project, is to achieve the significant new milestone of a pre-feasibility study.
Okay, and maybe a little bit of background around your finances, how you've positioned to carry out this work as the year progresses.
Right. We've positioned ourselves to fund our pre-feasibility study and then the subsequent feasibility study by selling a second non-core asset last year. Actually, now I guess it's at the end of 2021. The cash payments coming from that asset sale, we've received the first payment. We have the next two payments to come, and those payments will fund all of the pre-feasibility study. Then there's a final payment on the asset sale that will be contingent on the net present value that project achieves at its study stage, which we anticipate will be sufficient to fund the bankable feasibility study. So long story short, we have found a way to fund ourselves all the way through to bankable feasibility without having to issue any stock or raise any money in the market. Complementary to this financing that I've just mentioned is that we have a streaming agreement with Wheaton Precious Metals that also continues to provide us twice a year payments for a stream of a portion of the gold byproduct at the Cotabambas project. In addition, we have completed a number of other transactions during the course of last year on a number of our other non-core assets that has brought in additional cash. So we have been hyper-focused on funding both the pre-feasibility and the feasibility studies of the Cotabambas project without the need to raise money in the market and without the need to dilute our shareholders.
Okay, understood. I just want to change tack and talk about political risk, which will be on the minds of some investors when it comes to Peru. Can you give us a sense of what it's been like to develop a project there and any challenge that you foresee in the immediate future?
At our Cotabambas project, we've been working for over a decade. And during that decade, there's been a number of different presidents, number of different political parties in control of the politics federally. I've been living or working in Peru for almost 3 decades, and we've seen lots of political parties and different presidential orientations come to play in Peru. And that always generates a lot of noise. And that's the current condition in Peru as well. There's a lot of partisan political issues in the country that continues to generate noise and has caused more recently some disruptions to logistics and issues of that sort in the country. But in the grander scheme of things, what we've seen over 3 decades is, despite the political goings-on in Peru, the mining sector has continued to grow and to flourish in the country. And that's indicative of the fact that the mining sector in Peru does, to a great degree, transcend partisan political issues. The real underlying political issue around the mining sector in Peru is the equal or uniform distribution of the benefits that come from the mining sector investment to the populations in different parts of the country. That's the fundamental issue in Peru that gives rise to the political goings-on. We're confident that, notwithstanding the current noise that we're seeing in the country, that Peru will remain for the next numbers of decades, as it has for the last number of decades, an important worldwide destination for investment into the mining sector, and more importantly, for investment into the copper sector. And Peru will continue along the track where it is right now, where over half of the country's exports come from the mining sector, and Peru is a major producer of copper, of silver, of zinc, of gold. So I think the current noisy situation is kind of part and parcel of what we've had in Peru for the last number of decades. And the mining sector should continue to grow. And we expect that our Cotabambas project will be the next important large-scale copper project in the south of the country, where there has been more than 10 large copper projects built or expanded in the last decade.
Understood. Thanks, Luquman. So turning to the longer-term outlook for Cotabambas, I just want to get a sense of what your thoughts are there. Is it something you're prepared to build yourself, or do you perhaps see one of your strategic investors stepping in?
Yeah, I think as we are advancing the project in pre-feasibility, we're identifying that the potential to increase the resource at the project is significant. The exploration upside on the project is significant. So we envision that the project, is already a large scale and likely to grow in the future. And probably the best path forward is for Panoro Minerals, at the right time, to bring in a partner or an acquirer for the project who has the technical and financial expertise to advance such a large-scale project through to development and operation. As you've mentioned, we do have a number of strategic shareholders within the company already who have this type of experience. The south of Peru has seen very intensive investment into large-scale open-pit mine development from companies, North American companies, Chinese companies, Japanese companies, European and American. So there should be no shortage of parties interested in the Cotabambas project. So that remains our viewpoint on the long-term development of the Cotabambas project. Notwithstanding that, we have, as I've mentioned earlier, worked hard to fund ourselves through to bankable feasibility so that we can avoid diluting our shareholders and therefore maximize the value that we'll be able to get for our shareholders in whatever the exit strategy or the end game for the development of the Cotabambas project might be.
Okay, thank you very much, Luquman, for that overview of your company. That's all we have time for today. So that concludes this video for Mining Journal. Goodbye.